All right, let's take a look at the part twos, all 2 points apiece. So we're going to graph this function over the domain, -2 to 7. So this is great. We can go right to the calculator. We can go to add graphs. We're going to type this in, square root of x plus 2, hit enter. We've got a graph. We're going to go add a table. -2 is at 0. -1 is at 1. 0 is at 1.4. 1 is at 1.7. 2 is at 2. 3 is at 2.2. 4 is at 2.4. 5 5 is at 2.6. 6, 2.8, and 7 is at 3. No arrows because we're just graphing from -2 to 7. There you go. You'd want to put down a table in terms of your x and y values, just rounding your y values, of course. That's it. 2 points for that. 26. Non-linear function means it has to be multiplication or division that's happening, not adding or subtracting a constant rate. So here it's +2, +4, +8. So I would agree. Caleb is correct. Because the same number is not being added to f of x each time. They're multiplying by 2 each time. You could argue that. That makes it nonlinear. It's an exponential function. All right, number 27, solve for x to the nearest 10th. Nearest 10th, that's a hint quadratic formula. It's also a quadratic equation. So a is 1, b is 1, c is -5. This is on the formula sheet. Let's not forget that. So right here, I'm just going to be substituting into that formula. The opposite of b, plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. And then from there, it's just going right to the calculator. All right, so on the calculate screen, we're going to get a fraction, -1 plus square root 1 squared minus 4ac divided by 2 times 1. Let me zoom in a little bit. Nearest 10th. So for the addition, 1.79. That's nearest 10th. That's going to bump that up, 1.8. For the subtraction, we're just going to arrow up, copy, paste. We're going to change the addition, delete to subtraction. -2.79. Again, that 9 is going to bump this up, so -2.8. There's your 2 points. Question 28. They want us to graph this function, p of x plus 2. It's inside. It's going to move the opposite direction. So this moves to the left 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. So I'm just going to take those 3 points, those key features, the x and the y intercepts, and graph that. There's the function. If you did left 2 but forgot to do the graph or made a mistake, it's probably going to get you a point. All right, question 29. Determine algebraically the number of seconds it takes for the apple to hit the ground. Well, the ground means the height is 0, so -16t squared plus 256 equals 0. You can just do what we did just a question ago. This is quadratic formula. You're solving. A is -16, B is 0, C is or positive 256. So you can just substitute in the opposite of b, the opposite of 0, 0, plus or minus 0 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 256 divided by 2 times negative 16. All right, so to the calculator, 0 plus square root 0 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 256 divided by 2 times negative 16, negative 4. We do a little copy paste. Change that to a subtraction. And positive 4. Well, time, we're not going to go back in time before the apple was dropped, so that's out. We're going to reject that answer. And the correct answer here is going to be 4 seconds. It takes the apple 4 seconds to hit the ground. Question 30, solve algebraically for the exact value of x. So we got a little distributive property here. So it's going to be 6 minus 2/3 times x is negative 2/3 x. 2/3 times 5, do that in the calculator, you get negative 10/3 equals 4x. So I'm going to combine 6 minus 10/3. So 6 minus 10/3 is 8/3. So I have negative 2/3 x coming down plus 8/3 equals 4x. Get the x on the other side, so if I add 2/3 x, add 2/3 x, that's 0. 8/3 equals 4 plus 2/3, 14/3. So divide by 14/3, divide by 14/3. You just got to be careful plugging this in the calculator. So we're going to do control divide. In the numerator, you need another fraction, so control divide. 8/3. In the denominator, we need another fraction, 14/3. You can see how this division sign is a little bit wider. So you get 4/7. So x is equal to 4/7. If you didn't know how to do all that, n solve this, write it down, n solve this, comma x, write down the answer, you're going to get 1 point. All right, moving along to the last couple here. Is the product of square root of 16 and 4/7 rational or irrational? Product means multiply. So I'm going to go to my calculator. Square root of 16 times 4/7. The answer is 16/7. So this is rational because rational numbers include fractions. Fractions where you have an integer divided by an integer. And that's what you have here. All right, the last question. On the set of axes below, graph the piecewise function. All right, so we're going to have two parts to this. You have x, y for this first part. X is less than 2, so we're going to go 2, 1, 0. And we're going to graph that. Hold on. New document. Come on, Mills. Add graph. So we're going to go negative 1/2 x. Add a table. Okay, so at 2, we're at negative 1. At 1, we're at negative 0.5. And at 0, we're at 0. And so on and so forth. So we're going to graph that in a minute. So 2, -1, 2, -1. At 1, it's -1/2. And at 0, it's 0. This is everything less than 2. So I'm going to take ruler, whatever, and continue that line on. Now, there should be an open circle here. Open circle here at 2, -1, because this does not have the equal sign. Now, x, when x is greater than or equal to 2, so 2, 3, 4, I'm just returning the same input. So this I could do in my calculator. I'm just going to get 2, 3, 4. So at 2, 2, this is going to be a closed circle now because it does have the equal to. 3, 3, 4, 4, and so on and so forth. This just keeps going. So that's a piecewise function. There's 2 pieces. This is the first piece. This is the second piece. So those are your part 2 questions, all 2 points apiece. There's 8 questions total, for a total of 16 points.